Let us begin by stating the obvious. There is no such thing as a year. There is just the moment that you're experiencing right now, and there's nothing outside of that. When it comes to hours, even the concept of time, future, past, months, weeks, seconds, all of that exists in our heads. It's not actually happening. What's happening is what's happening, and that's it. Nonetheless, human beings attach value to the time period that was 2022, and therefore I will share what I learned during that year. Before we get into the meat of the video, I just want to say two things. The growth on this channel has been amazing for the past 2 months. Thank you. The second thing is that now I'm offering coaching calls, and coaching is probably the wrong word because we can talk about anything you want. I can answer questions, I can help you with spiritual stuff, with nutrition stuff, with physique stuff. I can help you with many things. Just hit me up and I'll tell you if I can help you, okay? My email is in the about section. You've subscribed because you find value in the content I create, and hopefully I've been able to change your life. I'd be very happy if I've been able to do so. If you want to take this entire thing that we have over here to the next level, then just hit me up. With that said, here are the 5 health lessons that I learned in 2022. We'll start with the most exciting lesson, and the lesson is zero carb is probably not ideal for most people. Now hear me out. Carbohydrates are required in our bodies, right? We need carbs for certain things. The thing is, even if you don't eat carbs, your body can create all of the carbs, right? Now, have you heard of the vegan diet? Have you heard that there are people who advocate for a vegan diet? It's crazy, right? People who only eat plants. Now these people say that you can not eat dietary cholesterol and you'll be fine because your body creates cholesterol. Well, the thing is, I'm not telling you that you have to eat a huge amount of carbs, but what I'm saying is it does make sense to eat a small amount of carbohydrates so that your body doesn't have to rely on itself to create the glucose. To validate this claim, I'm gonna use Nutrition and Physical Degeneration, which is a book written by Weston A. Price. Now, Price went around the world and he looked at what indigenous tribes were eating because he wanted to know why the Americans were losing their teeth. He wanted to know why everyone was getting so incredibly sick. Again, so Price goes around the world, he looks at these tribes, he looks at what they're eating, he checks their teeth, they have perfect teeth, he asks the tribe elder if anyone has any disease. No one has any disease. They don't even know what cancer is. Diabetes is unheard of. There's no disease anywhere whatsoever. And the takeaway from what they were eating is that they were all eating high quality animal foods, but that's not the only thing they were eating. They all had a carb source. You might be thinking, well, what about the zero carb tribes? You've got the Maasai, you've got the Inuits, you've got the Nenets tribe. They're all in excellent health and they don't eat any carbohydrates. Well, the thing is, they do eat carbohydrates, and let me tell you how. So if we start with the Maasai consume milk. Milk is a carbohydrate. They're not fermenting it. Mind you, if they ferment the milk, which they don't, you'd have the bacteria eating the sugar, and then the amount of sugar in the milk drastically goes down as the milk ferments. But they're not doing that. I'm doing that, they're not doing that. Some other tribes, some Russian tribes do that, but they don't. Anyway, then you've got the Nenets and the Inuit, and these two eat seals. I believe they eat seals and walruses and stuff like that. Animals with lots of fat that live in water and blah blah blah. You know what I mean. That fat contains carbohydrates. If you wait too long after killing the animal, the carbohydrates will disappear. But the seal blubber has carbohydrates, so they were consuming carbohydrates. They were also consuming fruits seasonally, mostly in the form of berries. So they had carb sources. In fact, they had 2 carb sources. Lastly, the reason I'm labeling this as a lesson is because I was getting a few issues. Paul Saladino? Paul Saladino, when he was zero carb, he started getting heart palpitations and he got electrolyte issues and this and that. I experienced a little bit of the same thing, and I shit you not, every time I ate fruit, a little bit of fruit, that went away. All of those symptoms went away. So for me, I need some form of carbohydrates to feel well. If we look at what the greatest health practitioner ever, Arjunas Vonderplant, said, he said eat a little bit of fruit every day. And I guess he understood that carbs do have some properties that a human needs. He said keep carbs less than 5% of the diet because we don't need a lot of it, but it certainly helps us in some ways. Again, one of them being offloading the glucose production inside of our own bodies. Instead of us needing to use resources to produce glucose, we get it from our food. Damn, that first lesson was a video by itself. The second thing I learned to really apply, I knew this before, but I didn't really apply it because I thought that I really needed it, but now I'm gonna apply it seriously, is be careful with organs. Because the thing is, if we look at an animal and where it stores its toxins, it's gonna store it in the fatty parts of the animal. So it's gonna store it in the fat, it's gonna store it in the organs, but it's not gonna store it in the muscle meat. And the thing is, it's very complex, but if you eat the fat of the animal and the pollution is in there, it's okay. But if you eat the organs, it's not really as okay, for very complicated reasons that I can't even explain. So, if I eat liver from a butcher store, even if they say that it's grass-fed, and I know that it's grass-fed because of the color of the fat that, accompanies the animal, because they're buying an entire animal and I see that the fat is yellow, and the liver is inside of that animal where the fat is yellow, so it must be a good liver, right? Thing is, every time I'm eating liver from that place where I buy fat from, I'm getting a headache. My head starts hurting for a few minutes after I've eaten the liver. So that means I'm probably consuming something that I shouldn't be consuming, because remember, your body will give you signals. If it likes what you're consuming, you're gonna feel well. It's the same thing with bone marrow. Bone marrow stores pollution like crazy, and so if I'm eating a cow's bone marrow and I'm getting a headache after eating that bone marrow, well then that means I'm consuming pollution. So I'm not gonna consume bone marrow anymore, I'm not gonna consume liver anymore. Not that they're bad at all. If you have access to clean animals and you can get their liver and bone marrow, consume as much as you can of that. Not too much liver, but the bone marrow, you can eat that as much as you want. For myself, I don't have that. The third thing is don't eat too much soft food. Now, some people would say that development of the skull is only associated with how much nutrition you got, if you were able to get enough nutrition to develop properly. And I can say that that's probably 80% of the puzzle. That is 80% of the puzzle, but 20% of the puzzle is that these people who can acquire nutrition because they're a part of an indigenous tribe that only cares about obtaining food, they're eating hard foods. Raw meat is tough to chew. They don't have a meat grinder. They're not grinding their meat. They're taking chunks of meat and they're chewing it. And so that develops their masseter muscles. And the masseter muscles need to be developed so that they can uphold the bone structure in your face, so that they can keep the maxilla over here, so that this bone doesn't drop down. And yes, chewing hard food makes you more attractive, but you have to understand that attractiveness of the face is very much associated with health. You see, if you have a good jaw and your maxilla is forward and you've got upward growth, that means that your airways have not been obstructed, that you've gotten good nutrition throughout your early childhood, and you're continuing to uphold good nutrition habits. If you want to get a more attractive face, check out my facial attractiveness guide over here. The fourth lesson is climate is really important. You see, the contrast between the summer and the winter in terms of how I'm feeling has never been greater. Because if you're doing so many great things during the summer, if you're taking advantage of the sun every day, if you're grounding every day, if you're taking walks in the forest every day, if you're doing a bunch of wonderful things outside every single day during the summer and you've never done that before, when winter hits, the contrast is going to be absolutely insane. There's a reason why we love heat and not too much heat, and the reason is, if you get too much heat, then your body has to get rid of the heat somehow. So it will slow you down and you'll feel very bad because your body will tell you, okay, it's too hot here, you need to do something. If it's too cold, well then your body needs to produce heat, and that damages your cells. Or doesn't damage your cells, it just uses them unnecessarily. It tells you that, okay, get out of here so that we don't need to speed up our metabolism. If you've got enough heat, then your body doesn't necessarily need to get rid of any heat, and it doesn't necessarily need to produce as much heat as it usually does, and therefore you will be very, very, very comfortable. In countries where the climate is warm, you've got the sun all year long, and yes, you've got vitamin D every day, but the sun is much more than just vitamin D. Just getting sun on your skin does so many things, one of them being regulating your circadian rhythm. A few years ago, I even read a study where they took depressed people and they increased their sun exposure. Either they, just sat in front of the sun and closed their eyes for a few minutes every day, or they were sunbathing, something like that, and they improved. The last thing is, there's a long way to go. I mean, you might look at me, the owner of this health channel, and say, that guy's really healthy, he's achieved excellent health and this and that. But I think I have a long way to go. I actually think that there are many other things that I could do. I think that I can develop more. I think that my skull shape can change. I think that I can regrow or get my wisdom teeth to grow, that I can make my dental arches wider. I think that there are many, many, many things that I could do. And again, I've also got an egg allergy, and I want to get rid of that so that I can start drinking 20 raw eggs a day. And for me personally, I've also got the beard. I mean, this patchy, here, patchy. I need to fix this. And yes, you might say that, okay, wait a few years and you'll get the beard, you'll get the full beard. But the thing is, I don't care about age. And you shouldn't care about age. We only care about health. And the beard is a signal of health. The lion with the biggest mane is probably the healthiest. So my friend, go and shove nutrients into your mouth. I know you can do it. Okay, no, that's the wrong one. Wait. Go and achieve excellent health. I know you can do it.